All right, it is the season of elections, whether it is in Bihar or whether it is in New York City. Joining us to talk about this is a very special guest who's come all the way to our studios. Dr. Philipp Ackermann is the Honorable Ambassador of Germany to India. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us here on CNN News 18. I believe you've been to Bihar and you quite enjoy the state, the culture, the local cuisine there.
I did, and I must say it's a very interesting state. And I will tell you one thing which, I will always remember. Bihar has the best museum of India. The Bihar Museum in Patna is the most state-of-the-art museum in India. It can compete with any international museum, and it is wonderfully exhibited, wonderfully explained. And I would recommend to everybody who goes to India to go to Patna to see this museum.
Do you have a view on the election, the big election that's coming up there?
I'm an ambassador, but I will tell you that state elections have a big role in a federal republic's life, like India, like Germany. So we are looking at our state elections like you look at yours. Bihar is a big state, an important state. So I think it is extremely exciting to see how things go, and we will be very curious to see the outcome in a couple of weeks.
Well, there were federal elections in the U.S. as well, from New York City to New Jersey and Virginia. Everyone's talking about Zohran Mamdani, even here in India because of his Indian roots. Again, I'm sure you caught up with the news earlier today about his victory in New York City. What do you make of that?
So I think it shows what a lively democracy the US is, that somebody who comes from basically zero and wins against an old established democratic nobility like Cuomo, as the Republicans have little say in New York. I think it's a great democratic achievement, I would say, whether you like Mamdani or not. It shows, that you can motivate people, that you can bring them to the urns and to the ballots. And I must say, of course, now the fact is he used to be the son of a very famous mother. Now I think the mother is a mother of a very famous son very soon.
But do you think it's also, like you said, in democracy, there's always this, what I call a reset button, right? It's the way that people tell the powers that be or the government of the day that, look, we don't like these things that you're doing. This is our message to you to course correct.
Yeah,
do you reckon that is?
Absolutely. I think the pendulum swings both sides, and it's in many ways a state election is a reaction to what happens at the center. Not exclusively. There is also some local politics playing.
Of course.
But there is always it always has an impact of what's happening on the national level. So you have to figure that.
So what do you make of foreign policy in the last 9 months or so? I mean, you're a foreign policy expert. You're an ambassador. It's just changed so much. I mean, every day is a new day. Every day there's a new challenge. How do people like you respond to that?
I think one can say it doesn't get easier. It's getting more and more complicated, more volatile, mercurial in a way. It's a difficult time in many ways. So I think that foreign policy has become more tense and more concerning than it used to, and I think diplomacy is more needed than ever, and that's good for us because we don't get unemployed, but it's maybe not so good for the world. So I think we have to do an extra effort to try to get more calm and steadiness and predictability in the world. I think, frankly, I must say that Indian foreign policy plays a very positive role in this whole
So one of the underlying sort of foundations of foreign policy, certainly in the last 20 years, was built around the idea of free trade. Today, we're seeing challenges to the idea of free trade. I mean, you have Trump and his tariffs. Even in Europe, I mean, you're trying to figure out this balance of trade between China on the one side, the US on the other. What do you see as the future of free trade? Does it have a future at all?
I think it has, and I think Europe and Germany, as part of Europe, really do believe in free trade. And the most significant proof of this is that we are sitting together with India and trying to figure out how to agree on a free trade agreement. And I'm very positive that this will happen by the end of the year, and early next year we'll have something that is really a meaningful start for a good free trade agreement. I think free trade is, in a globalized world with such a differentiated supply chain setup, very, very important. I think we should do our best to get back to a to a good free trade environment. That doesn't mean that you have to open up all markets. That's certainly not possible. But I would say I see, policies of deliberate tariff setting here and there as not really result-oriented, I would say.
So you think the response to an economy where people are talking about tariffs and there should be a premium to pay to trade with the world's biggest market and so on, the response to that is you go and pick up free trade agreements with other countries, other parts of the world?
I would say so. It is helpful to differentiate supply chains. We have seen it is not good to have only one supply chain. We need more supply chains. It opens up for foreign direct investment very much. And it gives the world more possibility to interchange goods and resources, technology. So I'm all for free trade agreements in the way that should be tailor-made for all, economic spaces, be that the EU, be that India, so to, make their trade and commercial exchange better and more.
What is your understanding of where the India-EU FTA negotiations are?
So I think we are really on a good way. I'm very, very optimistic. I wasn't always optimistic, but now I am. And I think in a way that the dedication and the resolve by the Prime Minister of India and the President of the Commission really helped getting the thing on a good track. We most probably will have an EU-India summit early next year, and by this date, I think we'll have something on the table that deserves.
By Republic Day next year is what we hear.
You hear? I'm not. I think it might be a probability.
It might be a probability. No. So I want to talk about the second issue, which in a way is linked to free trade, but also at a time when, immigration seems to have become like this bad word in the West, I would say, whether it's in the US or in the UK. At such a time, what is Germany offering to immigrants, to high-tech Indian engineers and talent? I know you have a view on this issue. So
I have a clear view on this issue, and then will tell you that you are completely right when you say that migration has become a contested notion. It's not something that goes easily. But what our government in Germany tries to tell the population is that we need fair and legal migration in order to fill the vacancies in our job setup, but we have to combat illegal migration. And I think people do understand that this is necessary. Our demographic development is since 50 years below the 2.0 birth rate.
Yeah.
And therefore we need immigration. Now, India, we have concluded with the Indian government this migration and mobility partnership. We have a very, very engaged and open-minded Indian public, and we need in many, many ways skills that you find in India. For example, not only the IT layer, that goes without saying, but what we need is nurses, caregivers, apprentices, even craftsmen and bus drivers. So what we try to do is setting up a system together with trusted agencies and together with the governments, so that Indians who want to migrate, who want to move to Germany, find an environment where they get secure jobs with good social security and health insurance, and that the German employer benefits enormously from this Indian pool.
What we're seeing in terms of migration patterns, Indians are now reluctant to go to the US or even Canada for that matter, maybe to some extent even the UK and Australia. But you're saying Germany is opening its doors for Indian talent, yes, whether it is engineers or doctors or, like you said, nurses and caregivers.
Absolutely. And I will, we have all over the country, we have, with state governments, we have plans to bring, for example, nurses to a German level, because that's, the problem that we have. We have a language that is not spoken widely in India, so that they can move to Germany. And so far, it has been a huge success. We have 3 lakh Indians in Germany right now, and the number is growing by the year. And they are now already earning more than the average German is earning. So it's for us a hugely successful diaspora, and we are very much looking forward to get them.
I want to get a final word, and we can't not talk about this, the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. And India, whether India likes it or not, has become a party to this, in as much as India is now the only country that's being penalized. Tariffs, secondary oil tariffs of 25%. India has said that this is unfair, this is unjustified. How would you see it?
So I'd say that, I will not express myself on American policy towards India. That's not my job. But what I'm telling you is that I don't see a near end of this war, because so far at least one party is really not willing to engage in a meaningful way to bring this war to an end. That means that we have to really try to do our utmost to convince the parties, and this very one party in Moscow, to get in a way to sit at a table to discuss how to get out of this war, so that both sides can live with the result in a way. I don't want to say that one side wins or the other one loses. We need to have an agreement that is good for the Ukrainians also, not only for the
What do you think would it take for Russia to come to the negotiating table and
therefore I think Germany and Europe have put heavy sanctions on Russia also, and that is one means to get them to the table. And I think Russia is suffering from these sanctions also, and I hope that at some stage they will understand that in order to get out of it they have to come to the table. But I'm not overly optimistic right now.
All right, Dr. Ackermann, it's a sad note to end this conversation on, but we've had a fine conversation. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot
for coming all the way to CNN News 18. Dr. Philipp Ackermann there, the ambassador of Germany to India.